In 1939, a professor of archaeology, not that one, enlists the help of his students to participate in his ongoing struggle to smuggle persecuted intellectuals and writers out of Nazi Germany in the months before the start of World War II, in the 1941 recasting of the Scarlet Pimpernel known as Pimpernel Smith. And that's the movie we're digging up, pun intended, this week on Movie Bones.
There's Juno.
No, madam. Not Juno. Aphrodite Calipagos.
Are you sure?
Well, I ought to know. I discovered her.
Really? She's just come out of her bath, and you see that towel she's holding in her hand.
That is not a towel, madam. It is a heaton, a form of drapery.
It looks like a towel.
Very good. It's a towel to you. It's a heaton to me.
She's the goddess of plenty.
No. The goddess of love.
Shh.
Of lawful wedded love.
She's a respectable goddess, girls.
She's practically perfect, as you can see. And in the languishing eye and smiling lips, there is a boundless compassion for the folly and ignorance of a blind world.
Very jolly. Yes, very jolly. Come along, girls.
An archaeologist from an allied nation who hates the Nazis, you say? One with a very common and popular surname? You don't say. Once you get past the particulars, it's kind of remarkable how many broad strokes run up alongside that other fellow who matches that fictional description, but with the whip and fedora. Makes you wonder if George Lucas and Spielberg kind of had more than just B movies in their mind back in the early 80s, maybe. But in any case, this isn't Dr. Jones, this is Dr. Smith. And that audio clip lays out pretty early on the kind of character he is. He's an archaeologist, but in his own way, he's a romantic. He's one who appreciates the arts and beauty. That's kind of his inroad into doing what he does, which is help spring intellectuals and artists and writers out of Nazi Germany. And he kind of reflects that as he describes to Aphrodite, looking on mankind with a kind of, what are you doing? Here, let me help you anyway, kind of a thing. And it's like, and so it does kind of give you a window into his character. And his character really is the beating heart of the movie for me.
I love this movie. Like, I'm just going to go out and say it. I love this movie, man.
Wear your heart on your sleeve, dude.
Honestly, I didn't even think about. I wasn't really thinking about the Indiana Jones comparisons that you just made until just now.
It did take me a while to stumble on it myself. And they're like, wait a minute.
And that it makes a lot of sense. I do kind of wonder if maybe that was a bit of a love letter to that. Here's the thing I love about stories like this. And I was thinking about this as I was watching the movie. It's not often that you get to follow a main character who is literally always the smartest person in the room. Like, it's nice. And now, I'm not going to compare it to this. Like, I'm not saying, oh, this is, like, it reminded me of this a little bit. You know, a lot of people love today is obviously it's Batman. And the thing about Batman is just how he's always thinking a step or two ahead. That's this character. That's actually this character, Professor Horatio Smith. He's always managing to just think a couple of steps ahead of everyone else. And it was just so brilliantly done. And I just absolutely love that.
Oh, yeah. And those characters, when done well, can be very entertaining to watch, too. I mean, usually I think he's more of like he's kind of a quasi-flat arc character. There are, some people say, well, he doesn't change. Not really, maybe a little bit with his relationship with the one woman who he ends up, having and getting into a relationship with. But even then, I'd put it that it's like he doesn't change that so much because he has this kind of standoffish attitude towards women in the beginning, which makes you think he's a sexist. But even if you take this as inspiration from like the original source, which is the Scarlet Pimpernel, so the character in that one, he pretends to be a fop. If you know what a fop is,
kind of, sort of. You might want to tell the audience.
I do say, sir. It's like, oh, how dare you, kind of an attitude. And it's like, so he plays that up really well. And he plays that for the broad audience of the people who he's around. So he can keep kind of like Batman in that way. Bruce Wayne is kind of like, so we're talking about Batman again, basically. But the point is that he's not what he seems to be. And that's carried over into this film as well. He is kind of a flat art character. He is very good at what he does. you never really think that he's going to be quite outmatched. They keep trying to outmatch him, and you do think sometimes that, well, maybe this time they'll actually catch up to him, and you think that might be boring, but in this case, the way he pulls it off is like he's smooth. He's not arrogant, but he is smooth, and whether he gets caught or not is less important to him than whether he just gets the job done. And he does deliver some really great lines, too, I have to say. There's some great speeches in here, but I appreciate what you said about that. He is the beating heart of this film for me, and every scene that he's in, I really like every one of those scenes.
We've talked about this a little bit before, how I don't think other films are afraid to put the Nazis a bit on blast or anything like that. It's just a lot of the films that we've watched, they did not really understand the extent of what the Nazis were doing. Now, they call a spade a spade. They talk about the concentration camps. And I thought that was bold. Like, I thought that was absolutely bold. I thought it was brave. They do a good job of making fun of the Nazis, which I think is something that should be done or should have been done. And they did do it, but they're also very realistic about them. And they make them look, the Nazis, one of the things about the Nazis is that they were so, there was that moment that early in the war, they overtake France. They ultimately overtake France. They're bombing Britain. There's all these things that are happening. And, they're very menacing. But like this movie, it shows that they're beatable. And an early movie like that's a good thing to have. So that's one of the things I really like. I feel like I'll wind up talking more about the historical side of all of this than anything else.
I would classify this film as, there's an interesting angle to this where it's like, this is actually, I would qualify this as a propaganda film.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
But this is a propaganda film as it should be done. It's like, just because it has the propaganda label on it, people would dismiss it. But it's like, you have to go one step deeper when it comes to, especially with film, is that is it trying to highlight a political truth, or is it trying to hide a political truth? In this case, it's revealing a political truth. And yes, it's very one-sided. It's got a definite political message to say. It is very anti-Nazi, obviously. And like you said, it's like this was probably close to, if not quite at the eve of the United States' entrance into World War II, which probably came late in the year. I'm not sure when this film was released, but it had to be close. So maybe someone saw the writing on the wall. But at the same time, it's like there was a significant movement in the United States that was actually pro-Nazi at the time.
Oh, yeah. And we've talked about that a little bit before. Real quick, this movie came out February 12th, Actually, this says it came out February 12th, 1942. I know Wikipedia may not be the most trusted source in the world. Wikipedia says release date 26th of July, 1941. That was in the UK.
Okay. And that's probably why. Because they were already at war. And they made the film over there. And so that makes perfect sense. Now I understand. Because up until we entered the war, there was a great deal of reticence on the U.S. side to make any kind of indication of what side we should be favoring, in the result of all this. And so it makes sense that this would probably come out of, I think, the British side of cinema. It's a good piece of propaganda, like I said. Unlike a movie like, say, we watched, Keeper of the Flame, right?
While we have watched a couple different World War II Nazi X movies, that the biggest issue has been skirting around what it is or what's happening. Even sometimes going as far as doing a good job of humanizing Nazis, certain Nazis and everything. Like I look back at, even though I don't think we've done this movie yet, but you look back at a movie like Casablanca. And, the thing with that movie is the Nazis are the bad guys. Like, it makes it very clear. Have we done Casablanca?
No, we haven't. I have not seen, you guys, this is a movie sin for Justin here. It's like, I have not seen Casablanca yet. If we can find it.
But one of the things about that movie is that it happens before, from my understanding, it happens before the world really knows about the concentration camps that are happening to the Jews. So the Holocaust, it doesn't necessarily know about the Holocaust. That's when it was being filmed. And when it was released, like that news had started coming out. Or they might not have known about the Holocaust itself. This movie right here makes that very clear. It says, I think they even say that they're going to put you on one of those trains and send you on to one of those camps that you never come back from. Like it says something like that in the movie. I remember that. I just love that it's just so unafraid to call a spade a spade.
Yeah. And I appreciate that too. It is one of the things that I think when you're already involved in the war, when you're already being attacked, it's much easier to speak your mind against the violence that's happening to you. That being said, just as a stuff that would kind of like affect my viewing on future viewings, there are some things. I guess principal among them is there's an American character. He's a student. And he's the guy who plays like the idiot foil. I'm going to just call him the idiot foil because it's like, I figured out that this guy, my professor, is this character that the newspapers are talking about. And I'm going to, the first thing is I have to get in on this. And I'm going to, then when I do, because I'm going to be obnoxious about it, and I'll threaten to reveal everything if you don't. Now I'm going to start messing things up by schmoozing with this woman who's associated for the moment with the Nazis. I'm going to sink this ship. You annoy the heck out of me, dude. And it's like, and so whenever he shows up, he's a big problem for me. Some of the other students, to different degrees, have a similar problem, but not quite so much. He's the big one, and it does do something with the woman that Dr. Smith eventually falls in love with. She's actually fairly decent. I liked her. I like what she was doing. There's a few things about her characterization I would change if I was remaking it, because they do kind of use some of the tropes where it's like, you have the woman, she's under pressure and she panics and she gives away a key piece of information. And it's like, and the guy, and at times there's a situation where she's talking and the guy she's talking to takes a marker and right in front of her marks the folder on his table because he suspects that she might look at it to just indicate. And it's like, you didn't see that? And even after the fact, if you didn't see that, you should see there's a mark there. This is something that's like, okay, well, I don't know. It's like, this feels like it's just too much of a, see what happens when you trust a woman, you can't let a woman in on your secret because she'll blow it for you, kind of a thing. And so that was a bit of annoyance too. But she's still a good character other than that. And the actress, I don't blame at all. I think she did a great job portraying it.
I thought there'd be a little bit more with the other, with the side characters, like the American student and everything. I thought there'd be a little bit more with that, just like maybe getting to know them more. I wasn't upset that I didn't get to know him more, but I did think there would be some of the way he treated women. I was kind of thrown off by. I didn't know if it was because, hey, this is a dangerous situation. I don't want to take women in there just because, that kind of mentality of the 1940s.
Yeah. I think that is partly.
Yeah. And then, yes, I did think some of the tests that the guy made were a little bit, ridiculous because like I'd be able to tell like, oh, he drew a line. Not really a big thing, but if you're not paying attention, some characters, because sometimes there's like two characters that I felt like they kind of looked alike. So like I was a bit confused. I was like, I thought they already saved that guy. And I was kind of wrong about that. Maybe my only other critique is like, our main antagonist, he is very menacing. He never wins though. Like it's one of those things where you kind of want him to, like if you're looking for a movie like this, you want him to win once so that you can kind of, have that fear of him.
Yes.
A bit more of a fear of him. Now, there is that part kind of those in the movie where you think he's won and you're like, oh man, like that's a kind of a bummer and everything. But then it just,
it quickly turns around.
It quickly turns around. You're absolutely right.
We shall make a German empire of the world. Why do I talk to you? You are a dead man.
May a dead man say a few words to you, General, for your enlightenment? You will never rule the world because you are doomed. All of you who have demoralized and corrupted a nation are doomed. Tonight you will take the first step along a dark road from which there is no turning back. You will have to go on and on, from one madness to another, leaving behind you a wilderness of misery and hatred. And still you will have to go on, because you will find no horizon and see no dawn, until at last you are lost and destroyed. You are doomed, Captain of Murderers. And one day, sooner or later, you will remember my words.
I actually raised the elevation of my review for this movie just because of that speech alone. it nails something like I said, as propaganda. This is very effective stuff, especially at the moment when you are paying attention the most at the end. It nails something about human nature. It nails something about what we're called to, but also what we're like when we fall from it, and what that leads to. And it's like you've mentioned before, there's a Charlie Chaplin movie you want to see, and I will probably end up watching it, is The Great Dictator. And there's a great speech in that one too that gets circulated around, But that reminded me is like you can get these speeches from this time period where it's like this is a critically important moment in history. And to have these people saying what they're saying at these moments, it's like this needs to be said. And you just or sometimes in history, you're just desperate for someone just to say the freaking obvious. You know?
Exactly.
And that's what this is. And we are desperate in some ways for that now too. I would say we're at a pretty big moment right now. If you just want someone just to say the truth, say it, call a spade a spade. Don't shy away from this stuff. You need to say exactly, and not just in a superficial way, but something that strikes deeply at the heart of the human conscience that should resonate in anyone who still has goodwill. You know what I'm saying? And that's what this does. And I love it for that.
I was talking to some of my students about this just the other day because we do teach World War II stuff in my English class, like, for instance, not World War II stuff, like the Diary of Anne Frank. I actually teach them a little bit of propaganda. I've actually shown them, having not seen that particular movie, I have actually shown them that speech from The Great Dictator because it's just a really good speech. I feel that this movie so far, Pimpernel Smith, does it the best. Where he says, like, you're going to lose. You are going to lose.
You're doomed.
I love that. Yes, you're doomed. And the beautiful thing is, like, this is right before they invade Poland.
Yeah, yeah.
In fact, I think it's the night before they invade Poland.
It's the night before they invade Poland, yeah. And like what you said, it's like you get the feeling that even though Dr. Smith is like, he knows he could be, if he was shot that night, he wouldn't have any regrets for anything he did. And if the last words he spoke were to that German officer, it was all worth it. It's like, and he would still be just as confident in dying that what he said was true. It doesn't matter. We will all be back. So verdicts, man. I think I know where you're going with this.
100% Fortune and Glory.
Yeah.
Because it's just a really good story. Like, I mean, it's a really, really good story. A really good story that I absolutely love. Another reason, now that I am thinking about it, now just kind of that whole, there's this, I'm always going to see this Indiana Jones vibe from there.
I've done something to Ryan. I've tampered with his brain. How did that happen?
I absolutely love that. I really love the fact that he wins.
I think for me, it's like I had my issues with the film, and I still do. It's like, this is not going to be Fortune and Glory for me, but I'm not like totally down on the film either. There were times, and I mentioned like some of the characters that, like the American student in particular really got on my nerves. There was a few other things. I think they could have done a little bit better with the balance between Professor Smith's kind of his adeptness and because the way he gets caught by some of his students is like he has a moment where he gets caught with a bandage. They could have probably balanced the skill levels of the two sides a little bit more evenly to make it more taut and more tense. Granted, this is a propaganda film, and a very good one, but it did still detract a little bit from my entertainment value of it. Whenever Professor Smith wasn't on the screen, my estimations would go down some. I will watch this. I will come back to this. Whenever I need a boost to think that, hey, even in the darkest times, this is the kind of message of hope at the end. It's like, no matter what kind of evil kind of spreads around, the hope is that there are still good people that are going to resist and fight back against it. And that evil cannot win forever. It's kind of like Frodo in Lord of the Rings, when there's that one scene in the book. I don't know if they had it in the movie, but where Frodo says it's like they cannot rule forever. They cannot dominate forever. And it was the last glimmer of light before they enter Mordor. And it brings tears to my eyes at times too. It's like this is a movie I will come back to. So for me, it balances out in the middle in a museum. And that's pretty much where I'm at. At this time, Ryan and I like to remind our listening audience out there that if you're having a good time listening to us talk about these old movies and, watching them together and having our reactions and all the fun stuff that goes along with it, please do like, subscribe, comment, and of course, follow us on your podcast purveyor of choice. Let us know if we got it all wrong because we're only human, It's just a couple of guys' opinions here. We're not professional filmmakers. And more is the pity. We'd like to be.
Not now.
Not now. Not yet.
Maybe one of these days.
Maybe. But yeah, tell us what you think, and of course, let us know what movies you think we ought to do, especially if they're for free on Tubi or another streaming platform, because this adventure comes with no strings attached. And on the subject of future movies, Ryan, we have another one coming up next week, and I have seen this one. I know you haven't, but I am excited to watch this one with you because
I'm excited to get to watch this one.
I shared with you. I don't know if did you get to watch the trailer I shared with you?
I have watched the trailer for it. At least I think I watched the trailer for it.
I sent it to you on the Messenger, I think, but yeah.
Yeah. And I think this movie's been remade.
It has. And
okay, I thought so. All right, folks. This is what IMDb says. 5 oddball criminals planning a bank robbery rent rooms on a cul-de-sac from an octogenarian, I don't know if I said that correctly.
That's correct.
Widow under the pretext that they are classical musicians. This movie stars, it's got a great cast.
It's terrific.
It stars
cast.
Alec Guinness, Peter Sellers, Herbert Lom, Cecil Parker, Danny Green, and Katie Johnson as Mrs. Wilberforce, the lady from the title.
Yes.
Next week's film is titled The Ladykillers.
The Ladykillers. Yeah, this is going to be fun. So, and if you guys haven't seen it out there, please do watch it with us. This is one. If you struggled sometimes with movies that have been like bad movies, neither Ryan or I knew what we were getting into, and we put our foot in it. This is less likely to be that one for you. So please do join us. Anyway, I'm looking forward to that. This is going to be a fun time. I got nothing else to say, so I guess we'll see you folks out there next week. And Ryan, I'll see you next week, and we will be back. We will all be back.
You shall have a signed picture of the Fuhrer. Have a chocolate.